together and they can't stand above waters and they can't float, how would INEC conduct election? If INEC does not conduct election in 2023, because if the party don't present candidates, how would INEC conduct election? If INEC don't conduct election, how would there be a legitimate government in Nigeria? So these are all the issues we should look at concerning this PDP crisis and the one brewing in APC. Hopefully, we hope these people will be able to put their house in order, and it shows something that is really wrong with our country, in the sense that if people can't manage their party, and you are not giving them the responsibility of managing the country. Both parties have demonstrated over time that they can't manage their party. They can't manage their internal affairs. We now give them the external management of Nigeria to manage Nigeria, give them that opportunity. So someone that cannot put his house in order cannot manage the country. So we have seen the spirit of mismanagement of resources, the insecurity that has characterized our system, because both parties cannot even manage their own internal issues. So we now entrust them to manage Nigeria. It's an indication. A strong and virile party system will lead to a strong and virile democratic system, and a strong and viral democratic system will give you good governance. So the rest is history. The foundation of our public governance is the party system, and the foundation of that party system is absolutely in crisis, in tatters. The center cannot hold. APC has an interim arrangement which is antithetical to democratic principle. PDP cannot put his house in order. Both the governor and the national chairman that are from the same state, that are from the same political family, are fighting themselves. God will help them to put the house in order, because if they don't put it in order, they can't put up a credible challenge to the APC that is taking members from PDP left, right, and center. You take that story to the story of insecurity, because if the parties are having crisis, and most of the actors and the players in the parties are governors, they won't pay attention to public governance. You see, the governor of Zamfara, in Zamfara, the speaker's father, uncle, and 5 others were taken away by bandits. And the governor of Katsina State, the home state of the president, claimed that 10 of his local government technically have been taken over by bandits. It's the state of the president. That's the home state of the president of the Federal Republic. And we say charity begins at home. So if the home state of the president is bedeviled with crisis, if a governor is coming out to say 10 of my local, which people or which territory is he governing? Is he governing over? That means that government is failing in its function to protect the lives and the property of its citizenry. Reasoning, if it's in a proper, virile democratic society, we know that calls for resignation. Someone that can't rule, someone that can't provide the necessary act of governance, he will take the honorable exit of resigning from office. That takes us to the story of what the Sultan said. The Sultan said we should not deceive ourselves, that things are not getting better, that we shouldn't deceive ourselves. If that is coming from the Sultan of Sokoto, the supreme leader of the Islamic Council of Nigeria, if that is coming from him to say things are not, we have heard from clerics. Tunde Bakare spoke the other time. He received stones and sticks for speaking. Now we are hearing from the Sultan of Sokoto. We have heard from the unappointed spokesperson of bandits in Nigeria, Sheikh Gumi, who has also spoken about things not getting better economically for the people. In Antas, who went further to call for the resignation of the president, that things are not better. And it's evident. The price index of products are high, inflation is high, people are going through stress. For those of us that are working, we know the number of distress calls you receive and text messages you receive in a day from people calling from one relief package or the other, requiring you for palliative when you are not in government that you provide the welfare services for the people. So,
Mr. Jide Johnson,
yes.
I also want us to talk about the story that seems to be the buzz here in Lagos, where the Lagos Assembly seem to have slashed the salaries of, ex-governors and, jumbo pensions by 50%. We've heard talks about this for a long time. What do you expect of the implementation?
Those ones are not serious. They are just deceiving themselves. They are just deceiving. Why should Lagos State Governor, former governor, collect pension? Pension for what? When Babajide Konde left, did he collect pension? I've been to Babajide Konde house many times. He lived, before he died, he lived in Lugbeju amongst his people. Why should he Lagos? If you are giving a pension to governors, what about other lawmakers? Is that if you see what it slashed by 50%, it's absolutely ridiculous. Why? Why should we give pension to people that have made fortune out of the states through state patronage? Why? Why should there be pension? Pension for what? You are elected to serve the people, and while you are serving the people, you have been giving your dues. Is he employed? Is he employment? Did they work for 35 years or 50 years? Why should they get pension? In the first instance, I'm totally against the pension scheme for former governors of Lagos State. They should be ashamed of themselves. They should. Any one of them that has collected it, starting from Bola Ahmed Tinubu that started it, he should be ashamed of himself. Because if he called himself a Democrat, he should have asked these people to start in the first instance. He shouldn't have even put it in place in the first instance. That's robbing Peter to pay Paul. They're making, you can't eat your cake at both ends. And that's what they have done. They should be ashamed of themselves. What are they slashing? They should repeal that law. They should repeal. Anybody should tell me anywhere in the world where you have pensions for governors. It's ridiculous. So whether they call it by 50%, they are just playing to the gallery. They are deceiving themselves.
Sadly, it's not just
we like it or not, a government will come in and will require them to pay back. A time will come, there will be an assembly in Lagos that will pass a bill and it will require them to give back to the state all they have collected from the state.
Well, sadly, it's not just in Lagos State that we are seeing this. But
yeah, it's Lagos State initiated in Lagos State, Cross River State, Lagos State, Cross River State initiated it in 2007. No, Lagos State and Akwa Ibom State initiated it in 2007. In actual sense, Lagos was the state that started it, and it's absolute nonsense. And some of us spoke totally against it before it got into the public domain.
All right, Mr. Johnson. Yeah, sorry. I want us to, still speak a little bit about insecurity. The Punch this morning says, abducted Baptist students, parents battle to raise fresh 300,000 naira levy. I want your response, and I know that we've spoken about this over and over, but it's going to be interesting to...
You have resorted to self-help.
Yeah, and that's what I want to ask, Mr. Johnson. How have we gotten to a place where, Nigerians can be in captivity for this long, and it doesn't seem like the Nigerian government is concerned. It doesn't seem like there's any extra effort that they wake up every morning trying to save those kids. I've never seen a hostage situation in any other part of the world that lasts this long, and there's no effort, from the government. It doesn't seem like there is.
Well, in the first instance, do we even have a government? A government is meant to protect the lives and property of its citizenry. That's the onerous responsibility of any government. And we have been left to self-help. The parents have been left alone. If you saw what the governor of Kaduna State said, he said it, and we have been made to believe that, well, government is helpless. If anything should happen to you, you are OYO on your own. And it's as if it's normal. It's the norm. Because we have not held government accountable for its responsibility. And people have lost faith in government. They have resorted to helping themselves out. Because what is the value of an average Nigerian life? Well, people that don't care about the quality of road they construct for you. People die on the road by accident. They don't care about the health sector. When they are sick, they fly abroad. They don't care about the educational sector. When ASU goes on strike, their own children go to school abroad. So what? They eat foreign food. I've told you, all you need to do is to go to the State House banquet and dinner and look at what they serve every night. It's foreign food. They close the border that we shouldn't eat imported rice. I want to challenge you to go to every State House and see that it's imported rice they are eating when they are eating rice. So it's a case of animal farm. It's a case of animal farm. One rule for you, the other rule for us. We are above the law, and there's nothing you can do about it. And it will come to an end. It might not be in our own lifetime, but it might be in another lifetime that it will get to the situation that there will be a revolt. People don't understand that in France was ruled by kings and queens in the past. It became a thing of the past through French Revolution. And the people said, you know what? We are no longer going to be ruled by a king or a queen. And in one night during the French Revolution, many members of the royal family were guillotined. Their heads were cut off and chopped off because the people revolted against the oppression of the monarchy because of the insensitivity of the monarchy. And we have seen a situation whereby across board from local government to state to federal, government being insensitive to the needs and the plight of the people. And they are comfortable with it. So, because the people see that when they run to government is not willing to help them. So everybody has decided to solve his own problem by himself, take the bull by his own. How would they kidnap school children in your country, in your state, and you are comfortable with it? And you fit to call yourself a governor, and you fit to call which state are you governing over? You fit to call yourself a president. Which country are you presiding over? A country in which 10 of the local government in your home state have been taken over by bandits. My goodness, it is sad. It is sad.
Okay, lastly, Mr. Johnson, sorry for that interruption, but finally, I wanted us to talk about this strike with the National Association of Resident Doctors. It's been going on since Monday, and Hanire here is saying that the people that should be blamed are state governments, not the federal government. But we remember that, the reason why they say they're going on this strike is because all their grievances that they had put down and had been signed by the government in a memorandum of action had not been implemented. But he's saying that the federal government is not responsible for that and that it's the duty of states. So, my comment will be in twofold. Why should we have National Association of Resident Doctors? Why should doctors collect the same salary throughout Nigeria? It should be state-based. That will let each state have its own salary structure so that the state can attract them. It's only in Nigeria you have a universal salary structure. The health workers that work in NHS in United Kingdom don't collect the same salary. Those ones that work in London area collect more salary than those that work in other places because of the high cost of living in London. So why should a medical doctor in Lagos be collecting the same salary with a medical doctor in Sokoto? Why? Why should we have a national salary structure for doctors, for university professors, for lecturers in university? These things should be state-based. Until we make it state-based, we'll be having this type of nonsensical national crisis that we have, that doctors will go on strike, which is against the oath they swore when they are being inducted as doctors. Their responsibility is to save lives. However, doctors too have their own lives to live because it is when they are alive that they can save lives. So when a doctor cannot meet the basic need of himself and his family, and we expect him to perform a surgery, then that's 2 deaths waiting to happen. So that's why I said my comment will be twofold. One, we need to separate this. Let the state negotiate. Let this thing be state-based. Let's say it is because of the long years of military rule that has unitarized a lot of things. Rather than federalize,
a lot of, rather than federalized labor, military rule, unitarized labor in Nigeria. And the earlier we go to that, the better for us that we federalize labor, so that each state has its own labor law and payment structure for his staff and his
Johnson.
And his workers. So that's the only way to solve this problem. Otherwise, we still be in this cycle that doctors will go on strike and patients will be in the hospital not having doctors to attend to them. You know how many times they've gone on strike? The Minister of Labor and Productivity should be ashamed of himself because he too is a former doctor and they can't find solution to that problem.
Would have to wrap it up here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
for
Johnson.
your time and for your thoughts this Friday.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a great weekend ahead. That's where we, of course, take a break at Off the Press. We're coming back with Today in History, and we're going to be talking still sports. The 3rd of August apparently was the day when Nigeria, won the Olympic gold in football. And, that's what I'm going to be sharing. It didn't happen on this day, but, sometime in August in 1996.
Exactly. I'm going also to 1996 to talk about when we had the first African woman win gold for the country. Stay with us. Welcome back to The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. It's now time for Today in History, and I'm going back to the year 1996 to tell you about a very special woman whose name is etched in gold because she clings to gold. And her name is Chioma Ajunwa. It was in this day in history that she actually took a break from the Nigeria Police Force. She had been a police officer to go represent her motherland and in this event. It was great to see that she won very well, received lots of promises of a house and all of that, which she didn't receive, for many years after. But it was good to know that in 2021, just 2 months ago in June, the Lagos State government did fulfill that promise to her. But it was on this day in history that she received the first individual gold for jumping the length of 7.12 meters at her very first try in the finals of the games. Ajunwa, had this Olympic gold medal in Atlanta, and she also received a national award. Until date, Ajunwa remains the only woman to compete at both the FIFA Women's World Cup as a footballer and at the Olympics as a track and field athlete. She's also a member of the Nigerian Police Force to date, and she launched the Chioma Ajunwa Okpara Foundation, and that's to discover new sports talents.
There's so many things I want to say about Chioma Ajunwa, but I'll start with saying, how over time, and we're still saying it till date, that this is going to be a very risky point, but, we're still saying it till date that people from the Southeast really have put Nigeria on the very, very best spotlights.
And how's that risky to say? Isn't that
a lot of people say, why are you focusing on that? But really, if you look at the records, that we always celebrate, and if you look at the names for people who represent Nigeria today in the Olympics, basketball, athletics, even those who you would always see their names pop up here, represent other countries, still from the Southeast, sadly. But I just thought it was interesting to share that the Southeasterners have on their own. Always put Nigeria on the very, very best spotlight.
You don't
ever.
have to feel guilty. It's a fact to say. You're not saying others are not doing well,
much.
but these people are doing well.
I love it so much. Anyway, let's also talk, Olympics now. We're going back to, undoubtedly, if you're going to think about, the 5 moments where Nigeria celebrated, this one will definitely make the top 2 or top 3 moments in our history. I can't remember any other time that the country, has celebrated as much as we celebrated on the 3rd of August in 1996, after Nigeria won the Olympic gold in football, the men's football team. We had beat Brazil first, and they eventually played Argentina in the final, where a couple of goals down. Eventually, then equalized and then won that game and won the Olympic gold in football. Undoubtedly, Nigeria's happiest moments in a very, very long time. I don't think there's anything in, maybe except 98. I don't think there's any other thing that has beaten, that level of happiness, as a country. But it was on this day, not on this day actually, on the 3rd of August, we're just bringing it back because we're talking Olympics today, that Nigeria won the Olympic gold in football. Some other thing that I want to point out here is what we did in 1996 compared to what we're doing in 2021. Now we're talking Ese Brume and Blessing Oborodudu. But 1996, look at these names of medalists, from Choma Ajonwa, who did women's long jump gold, to, of course, the whole Nigerian men's soccer team. All of them. The names are plenty. Abiodun Obafemi, Austin Okocha, Celestine Babayaro, Amokachi, Emmanuel Amunike, Babayaro, Garba Lawal, Mobi Baraku, Joseph Dosu, Teslim Fatusi, Tijani Babangida, Victor Ekpeba, Wilson Oruma. It's a long list of of names. There's also for silver, Falila Togunkoya, BC Afolabi, Fatima Yusuf, Charity Okpara, who won the women's silver in the 4x400 meters relay. Bronze, Falila Togunkoya, who won the women's 400 meters. Marion Yali, who won women's 200 meters. And then Duncan Dokiwari, who won boxing, and bronze rather for men's super heavyweight boxing. That was the list of names in 1996. In 2021, we have just 2 names, and that's it. It's a wrap. Go home. Wait for 2020 or next year's Olympic Games, and hope that we might do better. That really, for me, is painting a picture of where we were in 96 compared to where we are today.
The sad thing that I noticed, it's just unfortunate that when we talk about Nigeria's history, there seems to be lots of glorious things to talk about where we're coming from, especially, post-independence. That, Nigeria was great, food prices were, cheap, this and that. And you're looking at now, the 2021s, and you're finding, it seems like we're a shadow of ourselves. Look at sports history. We beat other football clubs like Brazil, Argentina, these guys were the heavyweights of that time. We beat them all hands down. But today, what have we seen in the Olympics?
We're not even participating.
Where did we go?
So, we didn't even make the Olympics, both male and female teams. So it's sad, hopefully, these are questions that I know that I would bring up, to every guest that we interviewed this morning. We'll see how it goes. And I don't think we're a shadow of ourselves. We're a shadow of a shadow of ourselves.
We're a shadow.
It's a terrible thing.
Sunday diaries after you.
Yeah. Stay with us, all right? Our first conversation this morning, we're going to be talking, and breaking down the conversation concerning Nigeria's Olympics journey. And we're starting with preparations. How well did we prepare for the Olympics? What were the things that we missed out on in getting our, Olympics team ready for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics? We'll get into that conversation next after the short break. Good morning once again. We'll be back.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Here are success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on PlusTvAfrica.
Hello and welcome. It's Nimasa This Week, the voice of maritime. Nimasa This Week is brought to you by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency. Statutorily mandated to ensure that there is regulation and promotion of matters affecting our waters. Nimasa bears responsibility for search and rescue, shipping development, and ship registration.
Nimasa This Week, the voice of maritime, showing on this channel.
Welcome back. Nigeria's poor preparation for the Olympic Games was clear for the world to see. When 10 athletes were stopped from competing, it was also due to the failure of the authorities back at home to administer enough drug tests. Then there was the issue with the basketball team's kits arriving late. The Federation blamed it on lack of documentation and miscommunication between ministries of finance and sports. The Puma controversy also comes to mind. Joining us this morning are two gentlemen. I'll start with our in-studio guest, Eserogene Oguma, who's an athlete and the Chief Executive Officer of Athletic Heat. And also we have Lekon Shoeton, who is an athletics coach and statistical analyst. Good morning to you both. Good morning to Ms. Oguma.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to be here.
And Mr. Shoeton, thanks for joining us. Good morning to you, sir. Okay, well, I think we're going to reconnect with him. So I'm going to start with Mr. Oguma. Well, most of the reactions to this current Olympic Games would say disappointed. Definitely we could have done better. But from your perspective, in the preparation to the games, were you expecting anything different?
In terms of personal preparation from the athletes, I think they were getting set. I had high hopes on a few of them, and they didn't disappoint. Someone like Enoch Adegoke, Grace Wonkocha, and a couple of others who didn't run, but would have done the nation proud. I think personally they were well prepared, and they were in camp for a period of time. They were also in the US, which I don't think favored them. So they came back after I think a month, to get back to camp in Abuja. Usually camping should be, in my opinion, a long period of time, but we are used to fire brigade preparation of probably a month, 2 months, 3 months, so which is really not enough, honestly. I'll take an example from the World Juniors, which is coming up later this month. There's a country who has been in camp since March, and Nigeria just got into camp about 3 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, so we can't, when you talk about preparation, we can't really compare what other people are doing in other countries than what we're doing here. I think we just need to improve on that aspect, because 3 weeks camping, 4 weeks camping, it's really not enough to have these athletes in that shape of that you want them to.
So who would you blame for starting camping so late?
The federation. The federation is in charge of things like this. When it comes to the games, definitely the ministry. The games like the Olympic Games, the Commonwealth Games, African Games is funded by the ministry. But when it talks about championship, the World Championship, World Junior Championship, they are all by the federation. So both parties should be blamed. It depends on where we're looking at it from. Yeah.
So we know that this Tokyo 2020 Olympics is a third that Nigerian teams will be basically missing. I think the last was the Beijing 2008. And when you look at where we're coming from and what it seems to be now, what assessments can you make?
Really not so good. It's really sad that we are where we are today. Just like you were saying, the 1996 Olympics, we had a lot of Nigerians. We won 6 medals at that Olympics, and we haven't gone back to that level. The last time we won medal aside this Olympics, was 2016, the men's football. Then Okagbare in 2008, where she won, upgraded to silver in the women's long jump. I don't think we've done so much. I think we need to really do better, in terms of like funding for the athletes, preparation, and caring for these athletes. Because the athletes' welfare is very important to the success of these athletes. But when you don't give proper attention to that, the thing just keep going down the drain.
I want us to talk about this whole jersey embarrassment. We know that, the Athletics Federation of Nigeria were commissioned to go out look for sponsors. They eventually did. They got the German company, Puma. Yeah. But eventually, Sunday Dare came along and went on to say that there were some discrepancies. They were not going to go ahead with it. They went on with one Africa for Africa indigenous brand that was well celebrated. But what really can you say about this issue? Because the DSS got involved. They took this whole matter to court. It was a big story back 2019, 2020. But then, when we look at the fact that we've been struggling to get sponsors, eventually we did. And then they said that the agreement doesn't hold water. How do you think this might affect our prospects in future of getting sponsors for our football games?
Well, athletics, it's difficult, to really dissect into this matter because the federation was in 2 factions. One led by engineer Ibrahim Gusso, yes. And then the other by Olamide George. And obviously one had the support of the ministry, while the other had the support of the World Athletics body. And I think the one who the World Athletics recognized is more or less like the one who should be on board. But there was a back and forth tussle on who should have the power. Though Honorable Gusso got the deal, but then other members of the board were like, you didn't come to us, you didn't tell us about this deal, so this deal doesn't hold water. But though they used it in 2019 at the World Championship in Doha, where Esther Brume won a bronze medal, but then I think it's just political.
Exactly.
What does come to us mean?
Pardon?
Let me help me understand what that is.
Okay, so if you have a board as the president, it's right that you go to your board and tell them, okay, this is the deal that was brought to the federation. This is that. But from what we have or what we have heard so far from the news is that they didn't. Olamide, not Olamide now, and Honorable Gusso and the TD, Mr. Sunday Adeleye, yes, didn't come to the board to tell them more about this deal.
I mean by the board, you mean the board in the Ministry of Sports?
No,
right?
no, the board of the Athletics Federation of Nigeria.
There's, I think I saw, an interview with Adeleye where he showed, that there were signatories from the ministry and the board rather, that basically meant that they were aware, they knew everything about the deal. So yeah, it might be personal issues. It might be.
That's why I said it's a whole lot of politics.
Seems like a political issue.
Yes, it is.
Let's invite our next guest joining us via Zoom, Mr. Leko Oshoito, athletics coach and statistical analyst. Good morning. Thanks for joining us again.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so we've been analyzing Nigeria's performance, especially preparation leading up to the Tokyo Olympics. Do you think that Nigeria could have prepared better and gotten out more results?
Well, I agree with Esero Gene more. We are all into this. We feel athletic, we feel it. And as a coach, I feel it. We could have done far more with our athletes ranking in the world. Athletes that is ranked between the first 16 in the world is a prospect. And we have up to 8 of them ranked. So if we have a performance like you have, which is short of the expectations for at least a gold medal, then two silver medals. Then, to me, in Doha, we won bronze, and everybody said we didn't perform well. I was in Doha, and I was midst of the brouhaha that said we didn't perform in Doha. I wonder now, in Doha, we had one bronze position. Can we say of that? Have the understanding was in the final race, you should have the person. Adegoke could have placed a seventh, fourth, third position could have increased our ranking. So to me, if we had a good preparation, a good which is united, and a board adjoined by the Ministry of Youth and Sport is all federations. We all know that they are into own the sports. So to me, are getting paid every month, federal government, they're capable of handling things, especially the kids, have that independence. How would they be able to say they want to, but who is being sponsored already? So to me, and everything that they have done to this performance, they will gain from it. So they have nothing to lose anyway. It's win-win. One bronze in athletics, to me, it's a success story. That it's better that we are coming back with it. So to me, it could have been better. Preparation did we have? They took some relay athletes to meet the qualifying standard they ought to have met in a cheap one in Poland, and you opted for US. That nothing. And they came back to Nigeria, they still some events, and some events were cancelled because they believe it's their own Nigerian way that you can bend rules. And so to me, they are causing more and any progress right now. And we could have done better in federation operate the way we have been operating from 2018 when we went for the Commonwealth Games.
All right, Mr. Sheraton.
And put in camp, yes.
Yeah, we have challenges with the network, but I think we can work with it. Do you think that the ministry maybe has too much to handle at the same time? You know, because we're talking athletics here, we're talking long jump, shot put, football, basketball. Is that too much to handle? Because first of all, the football teams didn't even make it to the Olympics. Now we're speaking about S.A. Brume and Blessing Oborodudu as the only winners. You know, there's other sports that we didn't even make any strong attempt in. So would you say the ministry has too much to handle, or they're distracted by their own internal crisis? And that's one of the reasons we didn't go anywhere here.
Ministry themselves are the distractions. The minister with the operations of the federations. If you listen to many of the federations leaders, they will tell you the ministry are fearing too much. You are to supervise, not to run the federation for them, not to dictate who will lead. A faction, they take sides. So to me, they are the distraction. Not that they have too much to handle, they have nothing to handle, for Christ's sake. NOC, Nigerian Olympic Committee. So Federal Ministry of Youth and Sport has taken NOC. So the NOC is just acting puppet to the minister. The minister wants, as a politician, he wants to be seen he is working. And he knows he has advisors who are not really professionals in this field. And he is not a coach. He was an experience and an exposure. Because if she had the exposure, we should miss out to the game we were into or we are into as a doping-rich nation. The minister even has advisors that they professional, so to say. So to me, they don't have anything to eat. They don't have anything much to offer, but they are still distracting.
Okay.
So,
okay, let's find out what exactly.
That's the problem.
All right, so Sherita, let's find out what the problem is. I want to bring in Mr. Oguma here. Adele mentioned that the problem is the sports ministry and the sports minister under his administration, saying that the problems of Nigerian athletics have never been worse under the person of Sunday Dare. Truth or false?
Coach Shetan will be able to answer that.
Let's get your opinion, then we'll bring in Sherifo.
So I feel like things have not always been right, but then I feel at this point, government interference is just so much in this particular board. I don't think in time past, in my years of competing or following out the sports in general, I don't think there's been any point where any of these ministers would really interfere or choose a party. I feel like when a father has two of his sons fighting, he shouldn't pick side with one. You should bring the two and be able to table the matter on the best way to go about it, and not siding the senior one or siding the junior one, against the other. So I feel like that's where the minister got it wrong.
All right, how about you, Mr. Shoyito? Where do you think the problem lies? Do you agree with Adele that the problem is with the sports minister and the ministry itself?
Yeah, I agree with Adele because you can't have him who is ego-driven, who wants to make sure it counts. In Doha, there were athletes that were built to run in certain events, and you came back, you set up a committee. You set up to 5 of the members in Tokyo. You brought in your friends to come and here to start with. Check the names as in Doha, set after Doha. They are Anuweje, in Tokyo as sports scientists. Where is that done? For friends to come and judge a performing federation. So to me, it's quite clear, driven by ego, that I want to remove the person at all costs without checking the. So to me, the minister has always been a problem, because from every games, they will tell you they own the games, bring their family members and on trips. They will drop coaches for their girlfriends, and it has always been like that. So when you have a friend, it cut their tracks, that they will fight back. That's what they do.
Mr. Sheraton,
yes.
Because we're trying to avoid, further embarrassment, would you advise, anybody to resign, after the Olympic Games?
Well, to me, even resigning is the problem. They should set up committees to really fire what went wrong from the very beginning. There must be, even the minister he should be able to tell Nigerians what public funds, is not. I advise him to really just stick to his youth part and let him just start looking until he's 10. So to me, it's not just about results. Beyond that, some people must. How can 10 athletes lose out? How can I train my athletes and eventually run at Olympics or perform? Telling me somebody could just resign, this should be brought to book.
Yeah, so it's more than just resignation. There have to be actual questions answered. Because if we move on from this and nobody gets punished, or nobody gets to answer these questions, then we're going to have a repeat very likely in the next international competition that we attend. So how can we ensure that this doesn't repeat itself? Do you want somebody to be fired? Do you want a whole department to completely be fired? Or what exactly do you think must be done? Somebody needs to be ashamed of themselves.
Mr. Shoyito, do we still have you there? Okay, let's pass that. Oh, Mr. Shoyito, can you hear us?
I'll answer now. The minister and the entire federal transport should be overhauled. What they should do and not to do, especially when we are preparing Olympics. Interfering with the federation setup, church should be given chance to come up and they abide by them. The minute advise them when they are not sticking to the arrangements. So there should be total overhaul.
Okay.
And first and foremost,
Mr. Shoyutan, we apologize. Mr. Shoyutan, we apologize. We might have to end that here because we're not getting the audio clearly from you. But quickly to get your final thoughts, Mr. Oguma, do you agree that there should be a shake-up in the Ministry of Sports and maybe anyone getting sanctioned for this performance at the Olympics?
Yes, I feel there should be an overhaul. First of all, I feel people who are, like Blessing Okagbare said, people who are passionate about the sports, not putting people who really don't know anything about the sport. I think over time we have not really had a sports minister who did the sports. When you don't do something, you really don't know the depth. So I feel the first thing which is coming from, I think, the presidency, should be to put somebody who did the sport, who understands, pardon?
Maybe a former athlete?
Yes, who understands the sport. I really thought Marion Yali would have been the minister and not an essay to the minister. I feel if someone in that capacity can lead us in the sports ministry, or it would go a long way. It would change certain things that we are facing today.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Esel Gene Oguma, as well as Mr. Shoyutan, who came in earlier. This is where we'll take a break on the preparation for the Tokyo Olympics 2020. We'll take a break here. We'll come back to discuss the games proper and review Nigeria's performance. Stay with us.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on PlusTvAfrica as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed. Fire!
200 naira they collect am.
If you no talk, dem go beat you.
Na 2,500 I dey pay.
Nigeria will be ending the Tokyo 2020 Olympics with 2 medals. Ese Brume's 6.97 meters got her bronze in the women's long jump event, and Blessing Oborududu's silver will be Nigeria's first medal in wrestling. Nigeria is currently in 71st place on the medals table, but not a few people believe we could have done better. Medal hopeful Blessing Okagbare was suspended after failing a substance test, and our basketball teams didn't live up to the hype. Isorogene Oguma and Leko Shiriton are still here with us, and joining us is the founder of Nigeria Athletics Media, Fumilayo Famisho. Thanks again to you both for joining us.
Pleasure.
I want us to begin with the basketball teams. After they trashed, those teams in the US, there were lots of hopes that, wow, we never knew that they could do this. It thrust Nigeria into that international limelight. We began to see our teams again. We began to say, oh, there could be hope for basketball. Why haven't we been looking at basketball and other sports, But eventually it seemed that they're disappointed.
Yes, they disappointed because after their first match with Australia, their coach, Brown, Mike, came out to say, don't give this team so much hype. We're not there yet. We're getting there, but we are not there yet. And then after that statement, I was like, okay, okay. Are you trying to say that we shouldn't?
Or that was just luck?
And they went on to the second match, they lost. And then they went on to the third match, and they lost. It was the same thing with the female, the Tigress. And I would just say that it was a learning experience for them. But I expected more because you have a lot of NBA players there and really experienced players, but that performance, it's a sad one.
Mr. Shoyito.
Stephen A. Smith will be
yes,
celebrating.
I believe so too. Mr. Shoyito, how about you? How do you comment on this situation with the performance of the Tigers at the Olympics?
To me, it's beyond getting the right attention. Other things around them. He had to leave and join his team. What logistics was put in place to make his team is around him, was around him, is now past now. So two issues wasn't right to leave the games, really leave the enjoying your team outside. So far, we have been built to fail. Prospect. We were ranked number 4 just before the happened. They just messed up.
So what do you think went wrong, Mr. Shoyito? What do you think went wrong beyond those wins and the hype and the glory, and then that descent into failure?
That's it. Planning towards it when you cannot have your team around the pitch. So that went wrong. That from that point.
All right, it's a struggle getting to hear Lekon Shoyito on this one. The network is not so good. Let's bring in Fumilayo Famisho, who's a founder, Nigerian Athletics Media. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. How are you doing all?
We're doing great. So we're focusing now on the performance, and how we fared. The times when we had high hopes of a medal, and eventually it was disappointing. Sometimes not necessarily the athlete's fault. Sometimes maybe because of doping rules, that got some of them disqualified. Maybe some of those athletes would have brought us a medal if they weren't disqualified. But I want us to look at your assessment of the performances in every sport, from boxing to the athletics to football. We didn't make it in, to basketball. How would you rate our performance in the games? And also, there's a perspective that diaspora athletes somehow, some way, do better than athletes here in Nigeria.
No, for that last one, I won't agree with that. Because when you look at the athletes, minus the 10 athletes that were disqualified because of the doping issues, when you look at the other athletes that competed, they are home-based athletes. I'll give instances of Enoch Adegoke and Grace Umokocha. Enoch Adegoke is home trained. He was discovered in Nigeria. It was his home trained, and he got to the finals of the 100 meters. The first time in 25 years. The last time we had that 100 meters finalist was in 1996. You understand? Grace Umokocha to the same. She ran 2 PBs in all in her events. She did the 100 meters and the 200 meters. She ran 11:00 seconds. She would have gone under the 11 seconds mark. And then in the 200 meters, she did the same thing. So it tells you that we have talent here. And here, the coaches here are good. You can't say that, okay, that because the diaspora athletes, because they are based there, that they can't be compared to that money. They're almost the same thing, in my opinion. The only difference is just the location, you understand? So when you look at the roles in Nigerian performance in general, for me, I would say that it was a fair outing for us. We couldn't have expected more. We knew the people that were going to give us medals before going to Tokyo. We knew the events that would give us medals before going to Tokyo. Let's look at athletics. SA Woman won bronze medal. She went to Tokyo as the world leader in the event, 7.17 meters. So it was just look out to know that, yes, she's supposed to deliver a medal. Not really supposed, but you expect that she will deliver a medal. Yeah. Same thing with wrestling. Fine, focus was on someone else for the wrestling medal, who was Odwari Adegoye. But we knew the wrestling team, they've been going in the past few years, they've gone for international tournaments, and they have very good veterans to their team. So when Glenn delivered, it was expected that, okay, we knew things, medals were going to come from wrestling. The focus was just on Odwari because she's the star girl and she's the main image for wrestling. But the other wrestlers too are very good. But when you look at the other events, other sports, taekwondo, swimming, table tennis, we couldn't expect more because the other countries had world leaders in the team. If you are not a world leader, you are in the top 5, you are in the top 10. And if you are not in this range going to the Olympics, your chances of getting a medal is actually slim. Except you get all those stories of grassroots stories, like for an exception, like you understand. So I'll say that it was a fair performance. Last Olympics in Rio, we had just one bronze medal, which was in football. This year there was no football didn't qualify, but the other sport that we did, we had a silver and bronze medal. So logically, we are being fair or sincere. We say that an upgrade of 2 medals, a silver medal, is actually not too good for a country as talented as Nigeria, but something we just have to, considering our preparations and actions before Tokyo.
All right, Shoita, can you hear us?
Okay.
Okay, Fumilayo just rated our team, a fair, in terms of the performance at the Olympics. How about you? What score do you give them in light of their performance?
I would like to agree with 100. Our assessment was right on point. It's fair. A bronze medal in Rio, and it's now silver and bronze. To me, we check at the statistics of other sports. Some are around in the world. What do you expect of such an athlete? So if statistics and we have silver and bronze, to me, one, so to say, it's a fair one. I won't come and castigate a performance that an upgrade from the previous one and say it's not good. So to me, it's fair enough.
I want to talk, now they've mentioned ranking twice. So if you're not ranked top 5 in the world, then you don't expect a medal from there. Then why bother going,
right?
if you're not ranked top 5? And what will it take to get there? Why we have enough years to train. So what will it take to get there? We're talking tennis. There's a particular guy, I don't remember his name now, that has played Nigerian tennis, Runa Quadri, that has played Nigerian tennis for the last 200 years. He's been the only tennis,
Shegun Toriola.
Yes, he's been there. He's
been to 7 Olympics.
Lord have mercy. So in the last 7 Olympics, we've not been able to develop any.
In different phases. First of all, funding for training. Now, you have to supplement well, you have to eat well, you have to live well. You know, these three things, when you are comfortable and you know you're going to training and you're coming back from training, you have something to eat at home, or you have something to take to recover, to replenish what you've lost, that's a whole lot to an athlete. It keeps you on a very athlete, or gives certain athletes will definitely get
funding. Well, funding is not necessary to put food on your table. Funding is for logistics and for equipment. You know, in
all of it. That's why I said it's in all phases. Well, honestly,
better be employed before you compete for Nigeria.
And again, you said something about why then do they go for these competitions if they're not in that rank? A massive personal best of 8 minutes 43 seconds. She wouldn't have done that here. So the
to me, it's a problem, blessings problem, not like issue. They should know what to do about it. God knows she has a good who has been through stuff like this. So innocent. They should be able to work it out.
All right.
Not problem, but blessings problem.
Yeah. Can you also speak on the
it's fine and your payment drop? So we feature them in these games and between the medal. No, they should be the points at Olympics. When you run in an Olympic final, you will have gained more points, placing 7th. Now, that will get him a good sponsorship deal. That one, it seems he had a deal with Puma, $12 million with Puma. So, if Odudu will not has to, he will want to be in the final. He did his best. But wasn't it good enough? What did we prepare to support him? Personal coach to Olympics, and now too late. Are we really taking care of them for these games? Did we really check in the early in the season again until at the Olympics to check if he was injured? They are fending for themselves. He is a training partner. So to me, there could be some issue. Ask the Bamidudu, I know if something went wrong with his team.
Yeah.
Okay, let's for me, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Yes, all right, let's talk about that prize money, $10,000, I believe, and $7,500. That really was an increase from the last prize money that we heard. But do you think we could have done better?
Yes, for a country like Nigeria, I think we could have done better. I'm training everything they have to do. The coach had an interview with one of our correspondents in Tokyo, and he was saying what they had to go through to get to that stage. They didn't even believe they were going to go to Tokyo. That is at state level. Topless or much more people that represented country at national level, and they are being given the same amount. So, adopting talents, they started with care, where you have numerous sponsors.
Yeah. All right.
I'm not sure if there was an official sponsor, but I have not seen any. Like, come on, the only company I've seen so far is Amstel Malta. Who are the major sponsors for the ministry? So we need to check all these things. But basketball, for instance, they did the same thing. I don't think they have a major official sponsor. So they
beat as well as Mr. Leko Shoeton. He's the athletics coach and statistical analyst. We'll take a break here and return to talk about the future of Nigerian sports.
artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Far above all principality and power and might and dominion, that regardless of what happens in this season, you will escape. Say to your neighbor, there is no peace for the wicked. The lazy man does not roast what he took in hunting, but diligence is a man's precious possession. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might.
Moment of Truth with Pastor Tunde Bakare. Sundays, 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
Of course, founder of Nigerian Athletics Media, Fumilayo Famisho, joining us this morning. And also we have the PRO Nigerian Olympic Committee, Femi Adetula, also with us this morning. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Let me say good evening from where I am. Good morning.
It's well, large gathering this morning. Well, Mr. Shoyeton, once again, good morning, and thanks for staying with us. Oh, we're still struggling. But anyway, I'm going to start with Mr. Adetula. We have another 4 years to prepare for the next Olympics. We have enough time, arguably, to get it right with the next Olympics. How do you think, or what do you think we must start doing from today in order to ensure that we are better prepared for the next Olympics?
Thank you very much. What I think we should do as from today is to, first of all, beg the government to have a minister that will be in office from now to the next Olympics so that there won't be change of guard. That is number one. Then number
two. Exactly where we're getting when we depend on ministers to dictate. Ministers are politicians. So we should be the fact that a minister should be dictating. I think NOC, big job to do. NOC should be an Olympic committee. The president should be doing whatever a minister to change ministers. The NOC to continue. The NOC should be able to have their full movement all the time. Like he has said, meant to retain a minister. He's lording it over them. Understand this minister now, it seems he could. So they want to retain this particular, talking about minister, when we should be talking having autonomy, operation, operating, sourcing for funds, or depending on government. So we are still talking, minister will only make do with what he had, that government released to the.
Okay, Mr.
So what are we
Shoyeton.
still talking about?
All right, Mr. Shoyeton. We have Mr. Adetula back on the line. Mr. Adetula, welcome back.
Thank you.
All right, so yes, you were making a point there, but something else we need to mention that Mr. Shoyeton also talked about really is about the quality of the people in power. The quality of the people there. Earlier, before we went on that break, Mr. Oguma was talking about the fact that it's important to have former athletes, people who have been on the field, who know where the shoe pinches, to be at the head of these bodies, not just people who are political appointments. Also, the issue of this political interference with the Sports Ministry and the Athletics Federation of Nigeria. Should it be that, or should we be talking more about synergy? How do you help us, unravel all these issues?
The issue is when you want to talk about anything in Nigeria, you can't take away government interference from anything you are doing in Nigeria. Nigeria is just Nigeria. There is nothing you do in Nigeria that government will not want to look into it. You understand? I belong to the Nigerian Olympic Committee. I'm a board member and I'm a PRO. Well, you can't, there's no how you want to separate the Nigerian Olympic Committee from the government, because at a point you need a brick wall, and it's not you wanting to, you say you want to fight against anybody. What we're trying to do is to try as much as possible to build a brand, because if you look at the federations, we have, it's only Nigerian Football Federation that is trying, to have their autonomy. The others, they don't have it yet. The NOC, they have told all the federations over time that they should try as much as possible to have their constitution ready, because if you have your constitution, you have a workbook that will guide you through. But in a situation whereby the constitution are not ready, how do you work? So how many of the federations have their constitution ready, to be able to work as a federation? Aside that, why I mentioned minister is because the NOC president, he mediates between the international federation and the federations here in Nigeria. But as it is in Nigeria, sports is still recreation. Until we see sports as big business, that is where you can say, okay, you want to to live large and have your autonomy. But without that, there's little or nothing you can do. You understand? So going forward, we have to come together to say, okay, what do we do? Let's look at our policy. Let's go to the National Assembly to make sport, to say, okay, sport, we want sport to be on its own, to stand alone, and from there you take it up. Because outside there, sport is a very big thing. I know what it is. It's not about this lip service you want to pay because hey, I don't belong to this. I don't know. It's this one thing that unifies us as a nation. Because when any sport is being played anywhere, you see people coming from every different areas coming together as one, and they talk about sport. So until we believe in that, it will take a very long time before anything can be done in Nigeria.
Mr. Adetula, which do you think should come first? Is it the belief in sports and Nigerians basically realizing the value in sports, or is it the funding? Would the funding be able to promote sports better, promote these athletes better, and give Nigerians more interest in these athletes? Or should Nigerians just, these persons just suddenly believe more, and that will then bring funding?
You have to lay a foundation before you build a house. How do you build a house? You have to buy a land. You have to do the foundation. You have to build it before you roof, and before you build it neat. So you can't start from up. It has to start from the grassroots. You go back to the foundation. You look at how things have to be done, and if the foundation is not properly laid, there is nothing you can build upon. So it's very important for us to go back to the root and say, where are the problems? You understand? The moment we have a sports policy in Nigeria, then from there we begin to build on it step by step. So that is the thing. You can't do it from up. It's from down.
Okay. I also want you to quickly speak on the idea of the Nigeria Olympic Committee. It was suggested by an NGO that athletes can, pull out from, any of these federations here in Nigeria and, attend Olympics by themselves as a Nigeria Olympic Committee, and they use Russia as an example, Russian athletes as an example. How do you see that playing out, and would you advise that also?
Well, I belong to the Nigerian Olympic Committee, and as far as I'm concerned today, Nigerian Olympic Committee is still the one in charge of, whatever things we want to do as regards the Olympics. I don't know, maybe that one can be happen, maybe that can happen tomorrow, but as far as this is concerned, I've not heard about it quite all right. But anything can happen anytime, any day. You understand? So, but as it is today, I think the proper things should be done, and let's do it very well and forge ahead.
Okay, Mr. Shoyito, let's talk about training and facilities. We know that facilities is one of the things we lack here in Nigeria. When we take a look at even our sports stadium and all of that, where athletes should train, it really doesn't seem like something to write home about. You have the jersey issue, the kit issue, logistics issue. When we look ahead for the next Olympics, where do you think we can begin to fix these challenges?
Well, let me correct about facilities. many stadia, trainings in Nigeria, but they don't really have it with. So there are facilities, no equipment. When you say in the stadium I am right now, no landing phone, no men to work with, and the track we have. When we talk about facilities, have been equipped well. In terms of kit, when you are at games, you should be well equipped. There should be raincoat, the other wear that you wear. Warm up, when you sweat, you change to a dry, your shoes. Those are the equipment we're talking. You are not well equipped, definitely. In some competition, other teams are handing out dry jump. They are competing athletes. But is the only thing the athlete is jump. There's nothing that athlete could do at the games. To fund the sport prop as equipment, despite the fact here in the country. So it's having facilities, have the right. So to me, if we now, there's no thing in 2024.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Sheriff. Mr. Sheriff, okay, I want to quickly get your final words, Mr. Adetola. The line was breaking on Mr. Sheriton's line. So regarding facilities, training, equipment, and all that, how can the Nigerian Olympic Committee, the Athletics Federation of Nigeria, the Ministry of Sports, and all other sport bodies put hands together to make sure that it's better next time?
The issue of infrastructure and what have you, as it is, it goes on government, to put all this structure in place, because, like you said, there must be a stadium, and in that stadium there must be facility inside the stadium. But where are the stadium in Nigeria that you can point to as our own stadium? You understand? So all these things we have to put in place. It's not the job of the NOC. NOC can only advise that, okay, this is what and what they should do. But government is the one to put all these things in place, or private investors are the one to put in place. You understand? Yeah. If you don't think these things have been put in place, you understand, it means you can do your sport very well, at these facilities.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Femi Adetola, PRO, Nigerian Olympic Committee. Thank you. And also Lekon Sheyeton, an athletics coach. Thank you so much for your time this morning and for speaking with us.
Thank you so much. God bless Nigeria.
Amazing. So it's been a Friday Olympic special here on Plus TV Africa's The Breakfast. We hope you've enjoyed every aspect of the conversation, especially getting that female voice in, talking about Olympics in Nigeria and, the future come 2024. I guess, this is where we draw the curtains here on The Breakfast. Fantastic week so far. I'm Annette Felix, and I'm wishing you a beautiful weekend.
And I am Osaogi Ogbawan.
Welcome to this edition of Timeless Conversations. My guest today is Alfred Okoro.
The Nigerians here seem frustrated. Everybody wants to leave. And the moment they cross these waters, they excel. Both Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, South, everybody in Nigeria. We've been ranked the most successful ethnic group in the United States. Why is it that we excel there, but not at home? Our diversity makes us the better. I believe so. I will be one of those to tell you I do not believe this country was designed to succeed. But so what? Nobody wants to start anything that they will not live to enjoy.
Timeless Conversations, airing every Sunday at 8:30 p.m.
Thanks for joining us on Plus News Brief. I am Osaogie Ogbonwa. The Board of Trustees of the People's Democratic Party has mandated its governors, lawmakers and former ministers to end the crisis in the party. And to make this happen, the board has set up a committee to interface with all the persons and factions involved in the crisis. The committee will start its work within the next 72 hours and is made up of members of the PDP's National Working Committee. It is expected to conclude its task and help the party shape up before its December National Convention. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has called on PDP leaders to unite for the sake of the party's interest and the country. Abubakar made the call in a statement by his media advisor Paul Ibe in Abuja on Thursday while reacting to the current frictions in the People's Democratic Party. He said that the party could not afford to be divided at this critical point in time when Nigerians were desperately yearning for change. Abubakar said an opposition that is looked up to as an alternative could not afford to be fighting itself and lend its hands to the ruling party for its own destruction. Still talking politics, the APC has argued the Supreme Court ruling in the Ondo State governorship election. That's after it validated Governor Mai Mala Buni's Caretaker Convention Planning Committee. The party said the court affirmed the position it held is temporarily, which is not akin to executive office or paid employment as envisaged by Section 183 of the Constitution. The legality of Buni's leadership has been subjected to different interpretations of the recently delivered judgment of the court on the Ondo governorship election in favor of Governor Rotimi Akeredolu. Akeredolu secured a slim 4-3 victory over his PDP challenger, Eyitayo Jegede, at the court. And members of the Progressive Governors Forum, PGF, have passed a vote of confidence on the chairman of the All Progressive Congress APC Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee, Mai Mala Buni. PGF chairman Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, the governor of Kebbi State, argued that the governor's stance was based on the recent judgment of the Supreme Court on the Ondo State governorship poll. In a statement, the governor said the judgment also settled the legality of the National Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee. Still in the news, the Sultan of Sokoto, Mohammed Saad Abubakar III, has become the newest well-respected person, concluding that Nigeria is in a bad place. The monarch stated this while speaking at the opening of a summit in Gombe State, organized by the Da'awa Coordination Council of Nigeria. He also advised governors to ensure there is adequate supply of food as global food shortage looms. According to the Sultan, scarcity of food will increase insecurity in Nigeria. And a magistrate court in Yola has remanded a son of the late former president Umaru Musa Yar'Adua in prison for allegedly killing 4 people in an auto crash. 36-year-old Aminu Yar'Adua was charged to court for the dangerous driving that led to the death on the 23rd of June. Court documents show the police which accused the younger Yar'Adua of hitting 6 people as a result of overspeeding. 2 of the victims are alive and receiving medical treatment. Also on News Brief, the Lagos State House of Assembly has reduced the pension of former governors of the state by 50%. A statement signed by the Chief Press Secretary to the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Eromosele Ebomele, said that the decision was taken after the adoption of a report by the House Committee on Establishment. The committee also expunged the provision of houses in Abuja and Lagos for ex-governors as stipulated in an earlier law operated by the state. And the Ogun State government and a People's Democratic Party PDP governorship aspirant, Ladi Adebutu, in the state in 2019 have engaged in a war of words over claims of diversion of 64 billion naira local government funds. Adebutu, while addressing journalists, accused the governor, Dapo Abiodun-led administration, of diverting the funds meant for the 20 local government councils in the state, against the directive of President Muhammadu Buhari. But in a reaction, the Ogun State government, through the Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, Afolabi Afuakpe, described the allegation as a figment of Mr. Adebutu's imagination.
of appropriating funds belonging to the third tier of government. 64 billion naira in 21 months belonging to the third tier of government essentially ended up with the state government. According to the Bureau of Statistics, 64 billion naira was disbursed, nearly, only for the third tier of government to get salaries. And we had nothing else, virtually nothing else to show. All the 20 local governments in the state were virtually under lock and key. No projects we could see or point at. In 21 months of this administration, from records we have.
I want to come with a comprehensive figure about how much we receive and how much is actually the expenditure. PDP will have helped the people of the state by saying this is the income, this is the expenditure, but they fail in that respect. What they presented to God is malicious, is false, because they are only looking at the income line. How about the expenditure line? Then I'm saying this since January to May this year. January to May this year. State government augmented the payment of salary of local government with over 2 billion. I have the facts and figure with me.
Still in the news, on Wednesday, Lagos State witnessed another container fall off a bridge at the Alao-Koda axis of the Igomu-Ijora Bridge. The fatal accident left one person dead and another escaped safely. PlusTvAfrica's Destiny Momo visited the scene of the crime one day after the accident and did some fact findings.
As you can see, this is Alao-Koda Bridge here in Ijora in Lagos, Nigeria, where the accident happened in the evening of 4th August. The only sign left of the accident was the double container and the back of the truck where the containers sat, which unfortunately got unlatched from the truck head. Last month, Commissioner for Justice in Lagos, Moyoshori Onigbanjo, had disclosed that the state had resolved to amend the law to ensure that in a case where a container is not latched and it falls off and injures anyone or damages any property, both the owner of the container responsible and the owner of the truck and driver are held liable. Eyewitnesses were eager to say what transpired.
The car was coming from the back, the trailer did the front. So later the trailer come the roll back. Before the driver go say make it jump, the trailer already fall on top of the motor.
Where container they come with heavy, you know, say double container get weight. So that these people don't know they consider say container don't they come, don't go stop them. So that the one where they come like this now, you know, saying they this thing, may they allow this one go, don't not allow him.
Climbing to the Igomu axis of the bridge shows the danger the bridge poses, as there is a clear indication that accidents occur on that bridge as a result of dangerous spots. And then looking away from the Alao-Koda accident that happened, now this scene cannot be looked away from because of the potholes on this Igomu bridge. A lot of accidents occur on this bridge. The timing given to heavily loaded trucks to ply the roads is no longer feasible as they go back and forth through the illegal turning points, causing difficulties on the roads. Also, an ecologist gave more insight.
When you talk about heavy-duty vehicles, there ought to be lane for them, especially if those that are carrying petroleum products, those that are carrying heavy goods and services. Heavy goods and services are meant to be conveyed via the rail lines.
Both the driver of the truck and its head have been taken to Ikbori police station. And with the spate of lives lost on Nigerian roads as a result of containers falling, Nigerians can only wish such incidents are managed properly to avoid future occurrences. Destiny Momo for Plus TV Africa.
Welcome back. Despite a national operation activated to check the disease, more states are recording a rise in cholera infections. 653 persons have died from cholera in 2021 alone, and the figures have risen beyond 10,000. Plus TV Africa's correspondent Annetta Felix speaks with a public health physician on how best to stop the spread of the disease.
Cholera is a fecal orally transmitted disease. This means that you can get infected when you eat food or drink water that has been contaminated with feces. Symptoms of cholera include watery diarrhea, vomiting, dehydration, and without proper treatment, rapid deterioration and death. We reached a consultant public health physician at the University of Calabar Teaching Hospital. She's Dr. Abasi Akpakpan. She explains the causes of cholera, including the challenge of open defecation and poor environmental sanitation.
If you poo into surface of water, you're likely to spread cholera, especially if you have the infection. So people shouldn't be pooing inside water. Like you go to a stream and you poo there, that is unsafe. When there is no access to clean water, water that is safe for drinking, poor environmental sanitation, also sanitation in the home. So your cooking equipment are not clean, the water you are cooking with is not clean, your pots, you're not properly cooking food, especially seafood.
If you think cholera only affects those in rural areas, you need to think again.
For someone who is in the rural area, he would go to a stream and would defecate, okay? But for someone in the urban area, you might build your tap, the source of your water or your soakaway might be upstream, like might be on a higher level. You know, eventually with time, the content might begin to seep and then it gets to the source of your water. So your water should be uphill and your soakaway should be downhill.
Here's the good news. It can be avoided altogether.
To avoid cholera, individuals should drink safe potable water. They should also prepare their food with clean water. Individuals should also wash hands often with soap and water. Do not poo in any body of water. Use toilets, use latrines, cook your food properly, keep it covered, eat it hot. Dispose diapers away from sources of drinking water.
Nigeria is currently battling a cholera epidemic with over 10,000 cases recorded in 22 of 36 states. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control has activated a National Cholera Emergency Operations Center as part of efforts to ensure that the infection and death rate does not continue to rise. Annetta Felix, Plus TV Africa.
The armed conflict in northeast Nigeria has been over a decade now, and millions of people have been displaced. This perhaps makes it one of the world's most complex humanitarian emergencies, and that's according to the International Committee of the Red Cross. With that, soaring prices are affecting the livelihood of these displaced Nigerians. There's more in this report.
Millions of people have fled from their homes and lost their livelihood. That's because of the ongoing conflict in northeast Nigeria. Sadly, soaring inflation is not making the situation better. They can hardly eat. The inflation rate climbed a 4-year record of 18% in March 2021. The International Committee of the Red Cross ICRC provides microeconomic grants to vulnerable group of people who lost their income due to the ongoing armed conflict. However, the steep inflation of the past year has hit them hard. Meet Aisha Omar, a widowed mother of 8 from Borno State, who was affected by the conflict that left her and her children displaced. Aliko Lomi, who is a grain trader, has a similar experience. ICRC Deputy Head of Sub-Delegation, Sarah Al-Momohi, spoke on how these Nigerians from the Northeast have suffered continuous conflict and insecurity. And here is what ICRC plans to do in helping these communities restore their livelihoods.
Today, the strategy at the ICRC is to continue exchanges and conversations with communities, authorities, but also other humanitarian actors on the ground to find sustainable ways to help communities help restore the dignity they once had by restoring their livelihood, taking back their livelihood.
As of 2020, more than 16,000 people had lost their income because of these conflicts. They have received cash for investment through the ICRC microeconomic grant to start a business. Also, about 173 entrepreneurs received grants from the Tony Elumelu Foundation partnership. Hopefully, these gestures would go some length in helping the affected people cope with the impact. Ngozi Ka, OHSC, for PlusTvAfrica.
And now to stories in other parts of Africa. Eyewitnesses say forces from Ethiopia's Tigray region have taken control of the town of Lalibela, whose famed rock-hewn churches are a United Nations World Heritage Site, and residents are fleeing. Lalibela, also a holy site for millions of Ethiopian Orthodox Christians, is in the North Wallo zone of the Amhara region in Ethiopia's north. In recent weeks, fighting has spread from Tigray into two neighboring regions, Amhara and Afar, forcing around 250,000 people to flee. Seifu, a resident of Lalibela who spoke by phone, said he saw hundreds of armed men speaking in Tigrinya, the language of ethnic Tigrayans. He said they were not speaking Amharic, the language of the people of Lalibela, and were wearing different uniforms from those of the federal military. Tanzanian riot police have detained a number of protesting supporters of an arrested opposition leader. It comes as the Freedom Mbowe faces charges of terrorism, financing and conspiracy. Mbowe and other officials from the main opposition party, Chadema, were arrested last month ahead of a planned conference to demand constitutional reforms. The court hearing of the 59-year-old's case has been postponed due to internet connection issues. And the World Health Organization says coronavirus-related deaths in Africa have reached a record peak in the week that ended August 1st. Over 6,400 deaths were recorded compared with the previous week, with South Africa and Tunisia accounting for over 55% of the fatalities. The WHO said in a statement, adding that death trends are on the rise in 15 countries.
Africa is still on the crest of a third wave and still recording more cases than in any earlier peak. We cannot take anything for granted, and we must stay fully committed to prevention measures. Tragically, deaths in Africa reached a record peak this week with over 6,400 deaths recorded. The third wave of the COVID-19 pandemic in Africa is still raging at full force. After a slight dip in cases last week, COVID-19 cases are surging again, rising by 19% to nearly over 278,000 this last week. Turning to COVID-19 vaccines, after a tough 3 months, we are seeing more positive prospects as vaccine shipments to Africa start picking up.
Moving outside Africa now, emergency teams in Greece are still battling wildfires north of Athens as it comes back to life on Thursday. More than 150 wildfires have broken out across Greece since Tuesday, destroying houses, forcing evacuation of dozens of towns and villages, and burning thousands of acres of forest land. Extremely hot conditions have ensured the fires continued for 3 days straight. Authorities are now warning of more blazes on Friday as temperatures hovered around 40 degrees Celsius. And the number of new COVID-19 cases has climbed to a 6-month high in the United States, with more than 100,000 infections reported on Wednesday. This is fueled by the Delta variant, which is spreading fast in Florida and other states with low vaccination rates. The 7-day average of new reported cases has reached nearly 95,000, a 5-fold increase in less than a month. To business news now. A new report by the Institution of Development Studies, a UK-based think tank, has placed Nigeria as the second poorest country in the world in terms of food affordability. The report, which was compiled through a publicly available global cost of living database, NUMBIO, was used in creating a cost of food basics analysis that compares the monthly minimum recommended spend on food per adult and monthly average wage in 107 countries across the world. The minimum recommended amount of food is based on 12 to 14 basic items that together would account for 2,100 calories per adult per day, which is the level recommended by the World Health Organization for energy needs. The cost of food basics found that more than 1 year since the outbreak of COVID-19, there is vast disparity between countries in terms of the proportion of average wages needed to afford enough food. And to entertainment news now, a filmmaker, Ide Chukwuemeka, and his friend, David Toby Ninua, have petitioned the police over alleged assault by security aides of music star Davido. Their petition alleges that they were mercilessly beaten by Davido's security team at a club in Lagos. They say the assault was eventually halted by the club's management. To sports news, Roger Federer will not be playing in the Canadian Open and the Cincinnati Masters as he continues to recover from a knee injury. After undergoing 2 operations on his right knee last year, Federer has competed in just 5 events so far this year. Most recently, the 20-time Grand Slam champion reached the Wimbledon quarterfinals before losing in straight sets. The 39-year-old is missing out on the Olympic Games due to knee injury. And 2 Belarusian coaches have lost their Olympic accreditations after allegedly attempting to force an athlete to leave the Games in Tokyo. The case of the athlete, Kristina Timanovskaya, caught global attention after she refused her team's orders to fly home. Belarus says she was removed from the national team because of her emotional state, but the 24-year-old argues she was removed because she spoke on Instagram about the negligence of her coaches. She is now in Poland, where she has been granted a humanitarian visa. The International Olympic Committee is investigating the issue. And that's the news brief. For more, please follow us at PlusTvAfrica on Facebook and Instagram. And do subscribe to our YouTube channel at PlusTvAfrica and PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle. I am Osaogie Ogbawa. Thank you for watching.
Point. The way your baby's presenting, we have to rush you in. And my partner at the time was like, "You going to cut her? Are you going to cut her? Is it going to leave a scar?" And I said, "Am I a belly dancer? What is the problem here?"
No, I'm vulnerable about the future of the children, the future of mine and the future of the generation of my children.
I want to have nude pictures taken. Of you? Yes,
Yeah,
but without showing my private parts. I want to put it in my front room. And they said, you can't do that. People will be embarrassed when they came into your house. I said, well, it's my body and it's my front room.
All the things that we do, what is the purpose of it?
I just realized that I was more trusting before I was 6.
So many women, they just feel like I have to cook for my husband, I have to breastfeed my children, I have to pick them from school.
Because society expects
Then you
them
go
to.
home and you cry and you stop your career, you can't do anything, then you blame everybody. You took that choice.
Politics has helped shape the decision of the polity, from conspiracy theories to good old-fashioned comic politics.
These are the results of tomorrow's election. You have it already, have you?
I am not hungry. If I need appointment, all I need to do is to start praising government.
Plus, politics will fill the polls of the country, from friends to frenemies, even strange bedfellows, to clones and stooges. We go beyond the rhetorics and the drama to analyze the story behind the story.
Let everybody come and say. The moment we stop having charlatans occupy political offices, we will curtail hate speech.
Plus Politics, not just another political show. It's about putting you, the citizens, in the know.
Is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
The weekend is here, rest is near. It's a Friday morning, and of course the weekend is here. It's Plus Sports and Plus TV Africa. My name is Wale Scott. Welcome on the show. Too many things happened yesterday. Too many. Well, let's start with the fact that Enyimba and Kwara United will join Akwa United as Nigeria's representatives in the CAF Champions League and Confederation Cup after finishing the league in 2nd and 3rd places, while Sunshine Stars avoided the drop after the final round of matches on Thursday. Heading to the match day 38 fixtures of the Nigeria Professional Football League, 5 teams, Nasarawa United, Rivers United, Kano Pillars, Enyimba, and Kwara United were battling for the remaining 2 continental slots, while 5 teams on the other end of the table were battling relegation. Nasarawa, Rivers, and Pillars, who were 2nd, 3rd, and 4th on the log, all lost their final games of the season, while Enyimba, 5th, and Kwara 6th, won their games and moved to the 2nd and 3rd spots. I've got Shayo Oguntoye via Zoom this morning. Good morning, Shayo.
Beautiful morning to you, Wally Scott.
Kwara United, Enyimba, and Akwa United to represent us on the continent. Are these, will they make sense for me, really? I don't know.
Well, if they are going to make sense, caution for another day, but I think Akwa United and Enyimba in the continent represents Nigeria. It's a good one. I think Nigerian Professional Football League is actually the most in the world.